Don't bump. Whiskey friends, far and wide, we are LIVE live on a Tuesday, and it's a tasty Tuesday. It's an exceptionally tasty Tuesday. I'm Eric, your humble malt muser. What is up, everybody? Great to see folks for another good old Tuesday happy hour of some whiskey talk. I am beaming my signal from my home city of Chicago, Illinois. Where are you at? Say hello in the chat. Drop your area code, drop your city, drop your country, whatever. I'll give you a shout out. We have a good show tonight, as usual. At least I like to think so. And before we set things up for tonight's whiskey tasting extravaganza, I am going to give shout outs to the folks who have ponied up early to the virtual bar. And we got a nice hearty crew, glasses in hand, hanging out. Let's say hi to the 8 folks who are already here. What is up, y'all? First in the door tonight, it is our good friend, the one and only Daniel H., joining us from East Texas, USA. Happy Tasty Tuesday to you, sir. Solange, Northern California, nipping on his heels. Donner Pass Whiskey, it's packing day today. Donner is off work, ready for his big trip. He is, I believe, heading to the British Isles. I don't know where you're all going, but I'm sure I'll find out as I scroll on through here, man. Great to see you, Donner Pass, and glad those samples that you won in the Patreon raffle showed up at your doorstep. Glad to hear it. Whiskey Nose, Marty with the party. What up, man? How's it going? Good to see you, sir. Yes, smash that thumbs up, y'all, and hit that subscribe too if you haven't. You don't want to miss these. At least I don't. I never do. Even when I do miss it. Glenn Morangy 12, Quinta Rubin to start the night. He's going with the old school discontinued bottle. Very good, man. I like that one. In fact, I would even venture to say I like it more than I liked the newer 14. It's a matter of opinion. Some folks would not agree with me on that. Yeah. Old bottles indeed. Ontario's in the house. It's Mr. White at the bar with the whiskey glass. Mr. White, what's up, man? Saying hello. Sorry I didn't get live tonight, taking the week off. Right on. Gerbeck's in the house. Hello, good people from around the world. Happy Tasty Tuesday. You too. Jupiter, Florida. What's good in FLA? Great to see you, sir. Always good to have you here, man. Some good old crosstalk, folks saying hi, getting settled in for the show. Love to see it. Gerbeck, hello, Dan. We are in the air everywhere, the Vast Malt Muser Network. Hey, wait, I know where you're pulling that from. That's a sports radio guy. Good one. Mr. French is in the house. Duluth, MN. What's up in Minnesota? I hear this is an exceptional place for whiskey talk. I love room for Duluth. French, always good to have you here, sir. French brings the wrench. Don't cause any trouble. Him and his comrade Daniel, they'll knock you out, man. You gotta be careful with that. Or maybe they'll just fix your car. D-Pass, multitasking a bit. He's heading to Dublin first. Very nice. Was there a couple of years ago, man? Enjoy Dublin. Good time to be going there, too. Daniel, looking it online, wasn't cheap. I'm sure Eric got a reasonable deal. You're talking about I know what you're talking about. We'll get into that in a second. Welcome to Whiskey City, Population Me, says Keen Dreams from Buffalo, New York, if I am not mistaken. Had assembled the Craigellachie exceptional cask. In particular, one was sulfur egg bomb. Interesting. Okay. Good to know. Quad Cities, right on the other side of my home state here of Illinois. It is our boy, Chris S. What up, Chris? Good to see you, sir. Stormy Western PA's in the house. Somewhere outside of Pittsburgh. It's Rob MC. What up, Rob? Great to have you back, man. Nose. What up, brother? Great to have you here, man. You know, Muser, you see that you spent all those super chats on some Fireball. Yeah, we're going to be drinking a lot of Fireball tonight, y'all. If you want to know what that's all about, go check out last week's show. Let's do it. What up, Jupiter? PA. Whiskey Nose, Raleigh, North Carolina. What's up in Raleigh, Durham? What do they call that? The triangle, something triangle. I've been to Raleigh a few times. Nice town. It's tough, Marty, but necessary from time to time. All right. Who else we got in here? Oh, shit. Look out. There's another signal coming from the southeast of the United States, beaming his signal outside the traffic-filled city of Atlanta. Somewhere in the suburbs, it's IC-86. What's up? Good to see IC in the house. All right, y'all. We got 11 folks in. What's good? I'm feeling good about tonight. This is going to be a fun show. All right. I am finishing up a sample that was provided to me by none other than the quiggest of people, Mr. Food Quig. This is a Shelter Point single cask rye. It's 57.9%. It's goddamn delicious. Oh, no. I might just have to finish it tonight. I poured a small dram just to get the juices flowing for our show tonight. Let me set things up. First and foremost, Patreons, your inbox has a new email from me. It contains my next review. That review is Paul John Oloroso Select Cask. We're going World Whiskey. We had an entire month of independent bottled scotches. Heading back to India. It's a delicious one. Keep an eye out for that. Everybody else, it will drop Friday if you want early access to that and other good things, including the May exclusive whiskey review video release. More content coming to Patreons that will be dropping your way. Patreon.com/maltmuserwhiskey. In addition to our the Paul John dropping, I got a show tonight. I'm going to tell you all about it. We have two whiskeys. They're both from the same parent company. They're both branded from a line called the Exceptional Cask Series. We're going to taste both of them. These were generously provided to me a long time ago by my erstwhile Tasty Tuesday sample friend, Telix, the Whiskey Tack out of Maryland. So a shout out to Telix. I finally got around to these, and I think these will make a wonderful show tonight because these are some high-end Speyside single malt scotches. The first one we're going to check out tonight is from the Aberfeldy distillery, owned by Dewar's, of course. It is a 20-year Aberfeldy, bottled at 43% ABV. I believe it's all ex-bourbon cask refill, and then it has a year finished in Sauternes, and then we're going to go to a Craigellachie 23 at 57.5%, also owned by Dewar's. Oloroso Sherry, 23 years old. So we got two really interesting whiskeys again. We'll talk some more about those as we get into the show. Let me catch up real quick here with any folks that are dropping in. Yeah, I know about the Martis. Hey, man, I live in Chicago. I know a thing or two about traffic. Believe me. But I feel you, man. Hope you're safe and sound at the house, avoiding all that with a nice dram in your hand. Shelter Point is Alberta Premium. That is what I'm talking about. The good old Alberta Premium. If you recall, in my whiskey one ride to rule them all blind challenge, if you guys want to check that out, I dropped those videos a while back. Alberta Premium cask strength did pretty damn well. San Francisco, what's up in the Bay? It's Gary K, repping the Bay. What's good, man? Great to see you, sir. It's lunch. Folks saying hello to each other. Malt Muser, the 21-year-old Aberfeldy is only 40% light. Yeah. We're going to have a little chat about Aberfeldy. We're going to drop into that. Okay. Now that we've got all of that housekeeping taken care of. Let me get the palate cleansed, and let's talk about our first whiskey tonight. So, as I mentioned, we are heading to Speyside tonight. And Dewar's, which I'm sure many of you know from some sad nights in a bar where the only scotch they had was Dewar's White Label. Not a wonderful whiskey. But the Dewar's label has a lot of history. And they also own some other distilleries. And two of the Speyside whiskeys that we're going to check out tonight are owned by Dewar's. And Dewar's had this series going, and I believe still does, called the Exceptional Cask Series. The first one we're going to check out tonight is from one of their distilleries of Aberfeldy. Now, these two distilleries, despite both being from Speyside, couldn't be more different. Aberfeldy generally is one of these types of whiskeys that falls in kind of your Glenlivet Founders Reserve, Glenfiddich 12 range. It is a very simple, sweet, low ABV, fruity, maybe even a little bit floral of a whiskey. Okay. The Aberfeldy 12-year-old, very, very easy to get here in the United States, right around that 40% ABV range. They have an 18 and I believe an older one that still only at 40%. This is not a distillery that is pumping out whiskeys that meet maybe the criteria of some of our malt heads in the chat who wouldn't buy things at 40%. Thankfully, I have a sample of a special whiskey from Aberfeldy. So this whiskey is 20 years old. This is the color of it. It is a Sauternes wine finish. Now, if you've never had Sauternes, Sauternes is like kind of like a white wine. If you think about the fortified grain situation, comes out of Bordeaux in France. A lot of honeysuckle, sweetness, that kind of lighter fruit, pear, etc., etc. A little bit of baking spice. I mean, this is not a red fruit whiskey. It's more of a white fruit, honeyed, sweet type of a sherry. Okay. Some folks would call it a dessert sherry. Well, whatever you call it, this whiskey is set for 19 years in a bourbon cask before it was put for 1 year in this, quote, exceptional cask of Sauternes. This is the color we're looking at. Do we know if it's natural or not? We don't. What we do know is that this is 43% ABV. And I can tell you, normally I'm suspicious of 43% ABV because more alcohol means more flavor. This one, although 20 years old, these run around $200 USD for some of these 20-year-old exceptional casks. This is not the only exceptional cask from Aberfeldy. They also, I believe, have a sherry version, Oloroso sherry, if I'm not mistaken. But the one we're going to drink tonight is Sauternes. So I have had these both sitting out for a while because you want to give it some time to oxidize in the glass. These have been sitting in some tight sample bottles sent by Telex to Whiskey Tech almost probably a year ago. So we want to do them justice. I've had them sitting out. We're going to do a neat tasting. We'll do a tasting with water. I'll tell you what I think. Tell you if you should run out and buy these or not. Best I can do. So let me know in the chat. Have any of y'all had any of these exceptional cask whiskeys from Aberfeldy, from Craigellachie? Do you like or dislike or indifferent to these distilleries in general? Drop your knowledge in the chat. Let's hear about it. I would love to know. And while you do that, I am going to nose this Aberfeldy 20-year-old exceptional cask, 43% ABV. Again, 19 years in refill bourbon casks, and then another year in Sauternes wine barrels. So here we go. My guess is that this is a fake color still, just by the way it looks. It's got a little bit of that orange glow. I don't know if they've chill filtered it or not. I am going to hope and pray that they haven't, but I'm going to guess that they did. It's Aberfeldy. You can't expect that much from them. Here we go. On the nose, it's got a little bit of an edge to it, surprisingly. And that comes in the form of a citrus, kind of like a lemon lime. Tons of vanilla in here. There's pear, there's butterscotch. Again, very consistent Sauternes casks. So, I mean, you have a bourbon cask and a Sauternes cask. My guess, the Sauternes is going to mellow out the bourbon. And bourbon's already relatively mellow, with the exception of maybe the oak char, right? So you got, 19 years in a refill bourbon cask. You're not going to get a ton out of that. I can tell you right now, the reason they use a refill cask, because you don't want the bourbon, if you use a first fill bourbon barrel, it would be overpowering the Sauternes. Sauternes is pretty delicate. I can tell you right now, they did a damn good job on this nose, because it is, or on the mattress, because this nose is quite nice. It smells rich. It smells inviting. There's a little bit of spice, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, a little bit of that Christmas baking spice. So you got spices, and then you got, like kind of just honey sweet and a little bit of that kind of white fruit sweet pear kind of thing going on here. Again, these bottles are around $200 a piece, give or take, which is a good price these days for a 20-year-old whiskey. Unfortunately, the 43%, we'll see how it holds up. Little floral, maybe? Okay. Let's give it a taste. Solange, happy Tasty Tuesday. Aberfeldy 20, exceptional cask, Sauternes finish. Here we go. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Let's do another. Ooh. You always, when you get a surprise on the finish, that's always a good sign. Let's do another quick taste here. I love this whiskey. You may wonder why. So for 43%, I want to get this right out the door. Generally speaking, a red flag goes up for me when I see less than 46%, as it should for most of us who have been buying whiskey for a while. As it definitely should when you're looking at a 20-year-old whiskey asking you for $200. What I can tell you right now is that this whiskey is both sweet and dry. It is delivering a nice amount of flavor, complexity, and length in the finish. So here we go. It arrives pretty much soft and oily, with hints of kind of, again, sweet fruit. Again, much like the nose, you got vanilla, you got pear, a little bit of honey, a little bit of butterscotch. You get a nice spice hit. It's well-rounded. Its sweetness is complementing the spice quite well. It's a bit, little bit oaky, very subtly though. Sandalwood notes, cinnamon, ground cinnamon, not cinnamon red hot candy, ground cinnamon. It goes into a really nice finish. Mellow, not too spice, not too sweet. Get a little bit of malted vanilla flavor, pear, hints of eggnog and nutmeg kind of thing. Not in texture, but in flavor. Medium long finish, quite nice. Let's do another neat sip. What a great nose. The nose of this reminds me of a really good Glenmorangie. If you've ever had like a Glenmorangie a star or a higher ABV Glenmorangie that's not in a red wine or a red sherry, it just has a robustness, a fullness, a nice spice. Everything is harmonious here. The Sauternes is really balancing well with the bourbon cask, which is why they use refill. So refill is usually second or third fill for that matter. Pardon me. First fill is obviously first fill. And that would be overpowering. You'd have way too much bourbon going on here. And you don't. It is giving space for the Sauternes wine finish to show itself and to display a little bit of the character of the malt itself, which is, again, kind of in that wheelhouse of a standard Speyside, a little bit of that apple, pear, slight spices, little floral. I mean, it's showing its character. It's not anything amazing in terms of the Aberfeldy character, but it is showing itself here, despite 20 years in barrels, which I'll give them credit for. Really nice. This is good. Again, the citric quality is so well-rounded here. It's so balanced. This is a very balanced whiskey. If anything, the only thing that maybe pushes it amounts, it's a bit dry and a bit tannic on the finish, but not much. There's a little bit of a tartness, slight bitter note coming through, which I'm guessing is kind of like apple. Okay. But again, the general profile here, if you are looking at purchasing something like this, you are looking at a whiskey that is balanced, between sweet and spice, with little hints of floral. Not aggressive, oily, nice soft mouthfeel. A very relaxed whiskey, quite a good whiskey. But, you know, I got a bunch of these. We got to put them to use. Let's get some water on this. It is 43%. I am not going to put much. We're going to do maybe like 3 drops here. I'm just not, I don't want to go too far here. Because I like a whiskey with a little bit of punch. Okay, here we go on the nose. Here's my guess. We're going to get more barrel char, more tannic, dark barrel notes. I'm guessing some chocolate's going to show up. We're going to get a little bit of more citrus. Let's check it out. Am I right? Okay, I'm 50-50. Not more citrus, but yes, a little bit more dark notes. In fact, they're almost slightly teetering on that sweet mesquite barbecue thing. But the general profile of this whiskey is not changing. It's sweet, it's spice, and it's honey sweet, it's soft spice. Still getting a little bit of that sandalwood. The vanilla, of course. Not bad. Not much change here. If anything, I think it's just made it a little bit more sprightly. I can take or leave. Let's give it a taste. Slunch. Very nice. Full mouthfeel. Vanilla, vanilla, vanilla. Pear. More apple. More bright fruit. Water's done a lot on the palate here. It's even toned down that already soft spice into a just prick. Little bit of a prickle of it. And it's like a little chili pepper. It's a little bit of cinnamon. More nuttiness. Yeah, this is, and here it is on the back, man. The back end, this is where the chocolate's coming through. This finish has moved from to showcasing a bit more of the barrel. Dark chocolate, cocoa. Again, nothing aggressive. It's a soft chocolate note. You still have a bit of that apple, a little bit of that honey. Look, this is a good whiskey. I was expecting this to not quite do much. I have had the Aberfeldy 12. I haven't even reviewed it because I was just like, it is a toned down version of the Glenfiddich 12, if you can imagine that. Not a whiskey that I gravitate towards as a starter. I probably would. But I will say this is nice. This reminds me, for folks who like Glenmorangie whiskeys, who like, Glenfiddich, Glenlivet. I mean, again, Speysiders. I know Glenmorangie's in the Highlands, but I mean, this is a soft, approachable, surprisingly deep and subtly complex whiskey at around $200 for this. Now, the 20-year-old age statement is, of course, makes you think it's justified. I don't think this. I think this drinks like a good 15 or a good 18. I think the ABV, I would like to say it's intentional, but I don't think it is. I think you would drop the ABV if you were trying to balance out too much cask influence and you were trying to go for the subtle thing. I think this is just Aberfeldy's deal. I like this. For $200, am I going to rush out and buy a bottle? No. If I see it on the shelf, will I look twice? Yes. It just doesn't quite have the complexity, that next level that you're looking for. But what it's doing really well. I'm going to sit comfortably just off tasting this at a 3.5, man. This is a 3.5. This is above average, even with that price. If this was at 46%, or maybe just had a little bit more, like another dimension to it, I think this could push to 375. Like that's the level of it. But as this stands, this is a 3.5. Even at that $200 mark, I really think this is presenting a classic style in almost one of the best ways you can. And the Sauternes is really just supplementing the bourbon cask. It's not really bringing a lot of dynamism to this whiskey, nor, I mean, how often does a Sauternes cask necessarily do that? But I think what it's doing is the choice of refill casks here. Again, you're talking about casks that have been used once. So it takes longer for them for the whiskey to extract anything out of it. I think this is the right equilibrium here. I think they're really hitting a nice equilibrium with this whiskey. I think a first fill bourbon cask would really ruin this. I think the Sauternes is bringing an extra delicacy to it, like a delicate note to it. I think this is a completely competent, solid whiskey. It's unfortunate that it's $200. It's unfortunate that it's 43%. But I'll sit comfortably at a 3.5 on this. It's quite nice. I would buy if this was $150, I'd buy a bottle of this for sure. It wouldn't even be a question. So that's that on the Aberfeldy. Again, these are both from the Dewar's Company. So let me know your thoughts. I mean, this is an impressive dram. I'm surprised. In just a few minutes, we will get into the second one, which I am much more excited about. But so far, I think this is a really competent, delicious whiskey. I'm looking forward to drinking on it. Let me catch up. We got 16 folks in the chat, which is great. Let me come back here, say hello, and catch up to what's going on. What's up, y'all? All right, there's where we were. Then Gary said, just open the Our Big Scorch committee release and the 20-year-old Bowmore Old Particular, both great. Yeah, I have not had that Bowmore. I've had the Scorch committee release. Never owned any Aberfeldy, seen some IBs, but yeah, they're not a distillery that I look much for, but you know, we just had a good tasting one. Good point, Daniel. Zan's in the house. What's up, man? How are you, sir? Great to see you. Always good to have you in the house. What is it about older whiskeys that cause them to really just need to sit in the glass for a bit? Is there some kind of science behind it? I mean, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to say anything about that. What I think it is look, as whiskeys get aged longer, they break down more. So oxidization is happening. And oxidization brings out subtlety. So you have a subtler product, right? It's a little bit more delicate by nature. That's why I think less water on older whiskeys, despite ABV, is always a better thing. I think there's more nuance, there's more subtlety. And that's a consequence mostly of oxygen. Maybe there's a scientific reason for that. I don't know. Beyond what I just explained, but I don't know how deep to go into it. But yeah, generally that's the case. It's more delicate. It's more subtle. It's, you put water on a whiskey. I think water does less to an older whiskey sometimes than a younger one. And that's, again, because you're introducing something to break those alcohol bonds up, which is happening much more naturally in an older whiskey. That's the best I can do for you, man. Because this Aberfeldy 21 smells like a bit funky when I first poured it, and then it gets pretty. Yeah, Gary, oxygen. Yep, absolutely. 20-year-old Aberfeldy, but no, it ain't bad at all. This is quite good. I mean, this exceptional cask is quite good. I don't know about the other ones. Both of them are at 50. Atmel Muser had half of the Tail of Winter sample that you sent last night. Nice. Yeah, the Tail of Winter was good. I liked it. I love a Marsala. So that's a good one. I liked it. Aberfeldy done right is pretty solid. Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, this is, again, I've not explored their range. I mostly eschew it because of the 40% ABV that you see on some of these. But this exceptional cask is quite nice. I don't think it's quite worth the $200. Again, generally speaking, this is staying in its lane, but it's doing it really well. It's a very enjoyable whiskey. So, you know, if you find these at a deal, you go into some shop, they're $1.70 for a 20-year-old Aberfeldy exceptional cask Sauternes. Yeah, I grab it. It's soft. Top shelf Dustin's in the house. Says, what's up, man? How's Ohio? Good to see you, sir. Let me catch up here really quick. What else is going on? Some crosstalk, top shelf whiskeys. Is this Dustin or is this Mike? What's up? Either way, good to see you. Folks who haven't yet, take a second, smash that sub on Top Shelf Whiskey. You just got to open another window. It takes just a second. They're doing great stuff. Check them out. Very easy to unravel an old whiskey with too much water. Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Completely agree. Folks saying hi. All right, cool. Yeah, so yeah, 3.5 on the Aberfeldy Exceptional Cask 20 Sauternes. This is a good whiskey. I don't think you even really need to care about Sauternes, even if you just like a straight up bourbon cask. This is a really competent, good whiskey. I'm not sure it quite elevates to the cost, but you know, what can you do? Okay. Just a reminder, folks, if you are on Patreon, check your email inbox after this show because I got a great review sitting for you waiting. And that is Paul John Oloroso Select Cask, a fantastic whiskey. It could very easily make in my top 5 whiskeys of the year. So you're not going to want to miss that review. For everybody else, that will drop Friday. Keep an eye out for it. I think that that's going to be a really... I need to go find another bottle. Like that's literally how I feel about it. So eager to share that with y'all. But we're going to move along here into the fun half. Next up, again, another whiskey from Dewar's. I don't know how you describe Craigellachie other than like Craigellachie is kind of a very unique distillery. Their whiskey's kind of punchy. It's kind of foosty. It's a little bit different. It's not a traditional Speyside in any way that people conventionally have it now. So what we got here is a 23-year-old This is a 23-year-old Craigellachie. That is the color. Now, unlike the 43% Aberfeldy that we had, this is all first fill Oloroso sherry, and it is bottled at 57.5%. It is also considered an exceptional cask. So this is part of that series, single cask, exceptional cask, so on and so forth. So Dewar's, you can get a Craigellachie 23. Generally, I think around what, $350 or something. It's pricey. These exceptional casks, similar price, sometimes even more. I think this could be even pushing around $400 these days. We're going to find out if it's worth that money. So we're looking at like literally double the price of the Aberfeldy, but a much higher ABV, a lot more going on. Here we go. I've had this sitting out for well over 35 minutes, so we are in really good space. This is the color. One more time. Again, we don't know if it's natural or not. Let's just assume it is. Let's assume that they're not putting fake color in this. It looks really nice. On the nose. Oh, wow. So this is my first time having a Craigellachie with this much sherry. I'm going to be honest. I gotta put that down for a second. Yo, that is a punchy whiskey. Wow. It's savory. So we were talking about the Aberfeldy. We were talking about soft spice, yellow fruit sweetness, kind of honey sweetness. This is a completely different thing, obviously, because of the Oloroso. It's meaty. It's savory. It's got dried spice. A dry rub for like a barbecue. Wow. intense. But there is a soft sweetness behind it all. And it comes in the form of sweet kind of strawberry, rhubarb, red fruit. So you're kind of looking here as a savory, spicy, and then sweet is a distant third. This is a much more savory whiskey. If you're a fan of Craigellachie, or got opinions about Craigellachie, would love to hear it in the chat. This is a different animal than I've ever experienced for Craigellachie, for sure. Now, I have not had their 23 or their 33 for that matter. I've had their 13, which is a classic. I recommend you get it, especially if you've had a couple drams in your day. We got 20 folks in here. I'm sure a good amount of them have had a Craigellachie 13 before. Does it have that fusty Craigellachie kind of punchy funk to it? Yes, but the sherry is really intense. This reminds me almost of a Tobermory. This is kind of in the Tobermory type, where you have a nice heavily sherried whiskey, but it's got a little bit of this kind of earthy dunnage funk to it. Quite nice. That's the big thing I get here. Let's give it a taste. Slanchiva. Here we go. Oh, wow. Well, we have clearly departed from that Aberfeldy, y'all. This is not the Aberfeldy. Ooh. I'm going to do another neat sip. Sharp. Rich. Dark fruit. So here's where we're going here. This hits like a cherry bomb, but it's got edge to it. And I'm trying to put my finger on it. It's almost a little flinty. Oh, hang on. Maybe sulfur. Maybe a little bit of sulfur. And again, I don't bring that up as a negative. It's subtle. Well, here's where we're going with this. Dark rich fruit, dark chocolate. So you're talking about kind of a blackberries covered in chocolate, dark chocolate type thing. Heavy on the palate. It does have a almost subtle smokiness to it, which could be kind of sulfuric. It depends on how you want to describe it. Yeah, this is not. Oh yeah, there's a dry rub barbecue quality, and not the sweet mesquite sign. We're talking much more like a Kansas City barbecue, darker, heavier. Black pepper. Yes. Okay. All in all, a much different experience, obviously. Even for a sherry bomb, this has your characteristic Craigellachie kind of. What's up, James Morgan? Is that James Morgan? What up, Blended? This has a much more complex, challenging palate. There's like almost like a jerk chicken dry rub quality to this. There's like a jerk note to this. It's dry, it's spicy, and then you just have these waves of kind of fruit. I'm not sure how well they work together. Like, I feel like the Oloroso sherry is a little bit incongruent with this, but we got to try some water. I'm going to do one more neat sip. Wow, this is, I mean, look, you want a whiskey that's challenging sometimes. This is definitely one of them. God, it almost has a nose of like a Glen Scotia. Here we go. Great mouthfeel. Great mouthfeel, but yeah, this is definitely on the dark and rich aggressively spicy. Dry rub, like jerk dry rub. Wow. Interesting though, like on the back end, and as it goes into its quite long finish, the finish isn't as drying as it tastes. If that makes sense. Like the texture, it's not drying you out as much. It does have these nice kind of creamy vanilla buttercream hint of butterscotch thing that's coming through it that kind of tries to even it out a little bit. Wow, this is an intense whiskey, man. Let's do some water. Let me know in the chat if you are a Craigellachie fan or a Craigellachie curious, or have had some of the older Craigellachies. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I do respect their distillery quite a bit, and that's what makes me really was just so delighted to taste this tonight. But this is I'm be really interested to see where this goes. Yeah, that kind of the water is almost kicking up kind of this sulfuric. And again, I do say sulfuric neutrally. I'm not trying to say that as a judgment, like negative. It kind of works. There's a little bit more red cherry coming through here. I do think that the cask maturation on this really does kind of overpower the distillery character. I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, especially if you like a nice sherry bomb. This tends to happen with a lot of sherried whiskeys, I think, but wow. Charred wood, damp, wet campfire. For a non-peated, non-smoky whiskey, man, this thing is real punchy. Okay, here we go. That mouthfeel is so delicious. It's like nectar. It's like syrup. Slightly drying, more chocolate, dark dried berries. Again, blackberry, raspberry. That punchy, slightly sulfuric, slightly flinty note. A little bit earthy, a little bit herbal. Medium long finish. The finish really, like, this is quite a journey. It starts out pretty sweet and creamy. You get all of this intense complexity in the form of spice, sulfur, all of this. And then the finish, there's this subtle kind of creamy, buttery, like, well, not butter, more like vanilla, cherry vanilla thing going on, which is really quite nice. And it complements the perfect drying nature of this. This is a 4 out of 5 whiskey for me. Despite the price of nearly $350, probably more. I caveat it just by saying, like, I mean, if you like Craigellachie and you like this type of signature style, that is not, it is a complete contrast from the Aberfeldy we just had. The Aberfeldy, I think, is very, very enjoyable easily. And even whiskey, folks who really enjoy complex whiskeys would enjoy this Aberfeldy. This one is a much more demanding whiskey, but I think it is showing why it has been aged in good cask. I was a little bit hesitant on this first fill Oloroso. I was thinking to myself, this is really going to kind of overpower everything. But if you've ever had like a Glendronach Allardyce in your life before, or a Cavalan, where the cask is so strong and it presents itself so magnificently. What's interesting about this is that this is still creating room for some of the distillery characteristic of this, which I think is a really nice touch. I raised my glass to Doers for both of these, but this one is the winner. Even at that expensive range now, I wouldn't say you run out and buy this if you're, just getting into whiskey. Start with the Craigellachie 13, even a 17. This is not something you're going to buy and immediately enjoy. This is something you can lean into. This is moving into kind of Springbank territory, Glen Scotia territory, Kilkerran territory, some of the more sophisticated Glenalleckies. Very, very nice. I'm glad I did this one second. Good stuff. Yeah. There's just no question about it. This is it. Both of these are incredibly well made. 3.5 on the 20-year-old Aberfeldy. 4 out of 5 on the Craigellachie 13 exceptional cask, with the caveats I mentioned. Both really good whiskeys. Awesome. Okay, let me catch up on the chat. Man, it's good stuff. I am a bit behind. I do want to catch up and say hi to folks who I might have missed. And there we go. Pittsburgh, PA, Whiskey A's. What up, man? How you doing, man? Great to see you, sir. Top shelf. The 23-year holds up to these X's. I think I know what you mean. Yeah. Also, some Zugas 21 Sherry Cast store picks is Gary. Okay. Yeah, sulfur. Yeah, there's an undeniable sulfur quality to this one. Yeah. I knew the sulfur was coming. I got it more with the water, but yeah. It's there. But it's not bad, right? You can pick him, Whiskey Broker. Oh, I might have missed that. 21-year-old old particular at 43% was good. Oh, you're talking about Craigellachie. Okay. Oh, yeah. There it is. Okay. Great. Hey, what's up, North Carolina? We got another North Carolina guy now. It's Whiskey Knows. Meet up with this guy. Greg McDonald, Mamuser, Choose Eric, been looking in the background trying to find something for you for your upcoming Taste Tuesday. Well, man, I appreciate that, brother. You have provided some great samples so far, and it is, your presence is more than I could ask. Cheers, man. Thank you for joining. Top Shelf Whiskey. I really like these. Exceptional cask. I buy everyone I see. I think you're making a smart decision there. Is the exceptional cask the Gordon and MacPhail series? I don't think so. No, these are from Doers specifically, and they're bottled under the distillery name. So Aberfeldy, the Aberfeldy 20 was from Aberfeldy, as is the Craigellachie. There's a Discovery series from Gordon MacPhail. You heard it here first, y'all. Top D don't play. I like the dirty sherry versions. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Dirty sherry. Well said. Hey, Jersey's in the house. It's AP. What up, Andrew Page? We're in Craigellachie right now. A 12-year-old old particular heavily charged sherry single cask. Only the Craigellachie I've tried 13, which is very... Man, yeah, you're drinking a... I'd love to hear about this. This is going to be very similar to, in certain ways, of what I just had. Stephen Connor's in the house. What up? What's going on, Tennessee? Maryland's in the house, too. Michael Besley, late to the party. That's all right, man. It's all about showing up. We got 22 folks in the house. Great to see you guys. 18-year-old exceptional cask better than a 23 less sulfuric. Good to know. Good to see you, Stephen Connor, man. And again, thank you for those generous samples a few weeks back, man. Those were rad. So I'll tell you, generally speaking here. So, these are both owned by Doers. Again, I think they're both really good whiskeys. You're going to pay up the ass for them. I think value for money, it really depends what you're looking for. These are so different. At the $200 mark, it's a 43% Aberfeldy, but this really does punch above its weight for 43%. I would defy most people to taste this in a blind and think it was 43%. It's that good. And the Craigellachie, I mean, the style points alone on the Craigellachie are there. It's at a price I'm not sure I'm going to run out and buy a bottle. I might. Be real good with a cigar. Let me check out my buck score real quick. But ooh, look at Boston trying to pretend they're a basketball team. I think this Craigellachie, I'm sitting at a 4 to 5, man. It's that good. I just think it comes with caveats, and the caveats are really the complexity, the style. And again, I said, this isn't, if you're just getting into single malts, not one that you should grab per se. You should definitely start with the 13 because it'll give you a sense of what I mean by the foostiness. It's got some edge. It's got some punch. Some kind of still character. But I like it. These are both good. So again, I want to give a shout out to my erstwhile Tasty Tuesday whiskey tasting friend, Mr. Telix the Whiskey Tech, who, by the way, is still doing whiskey reviews here and there. Keep an eye on his channel. He sent me these well over a year ago. I'm very glad to get into it, and I'm happy to share. Oh, what's up, man? You want to come up? Winston the Whiskey Cat has decided to make an appearance. Let's see how he reacts. Aberfeldy Exceptional Cask? No. Yet. Okay, how about the Craigellachie? No. Nothing can appease Winston the Whiskey Cat. But we already knew this. I'm sorry, man. One of these days, I mean, if I'm going to call you a whiskey cat, you actually have to have whiskey that you like. I know you've got the Lefroy's, but that's it. Anyways, he says hello. Okay, moving along. I'm going to get back into a whiskey that I impromptu opened on a live stream a couple weeks ago. And these are a Jack Rose pick. Because this is really the only way to end a good live stream. So I have two of them. I have a Clynelish Jack Rose pick. Single malts of Scotland 10, and then this is the Kalila. We're going to do the Kalila. I've increasingly found myself gravitating towards independent bottlings of Kalila over basically anything in the peated world, and there's a major reason for that. Number one, the quality. I think that they do a lot more. The independent bottlings of Kalila are just such a better bang for your buck than most of the peated whiskeys you can find from regular distilleries. Secondly, they come around the same price. This one in particular is bottled by Elixir, Single Malts of Scotland. And this one is bottled at 13 years. It was a barrel selected by Jack Rose Dining Saloon in Washington, D.C. And it's 59.4%. Oh, yeah. You have the same one? Really? He just said you named your cat for me? Yes. Okay. Mike from Mike's Whiskey Reviews. The secret is out. I named my cat after Mike. Look, Mike, you come on my channel once. We did a Lefroy show. Now I'm naming my cat after you, bro. I'm smitten. His name is Mike Winston, by the way. He lives at... No, I'm just kidding. He's yeah, by the way, if you haven't yet, you guys, do shoot a subscription over to Top Chef Whiskey. Him and Dustin, formerly DH Silv 2, now Top Shelf Dustin. Yeah, Winston, I feel you. Are doing really good stuff. So check out their channel. You know it. The Whiskey Cat's in the house. Churchill would have been too happy. Good vibes indeed, man. Yeah, man. It's all about you, Mike. Come on. Ain't that the truth, Winston? Okay. Where does Stephen Connor? Oh, man, you live rent free in my head, brother, just like everybody on the show. I remember people's locations who've been watching this show for a year. This is how I roll, man. It's one of the few talents I have. I see Winston's in the house, yeah. And he's pawing at the goddamn Lafroigs again. Stop it. Just chill. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm assuming you got it from the same place. Yeah. What's up, man? Stay on manner mode. Okay. Anyways, I'm not trying to piggyback on Ralphie's thing, but I do got to say, if you haven't been following Ralphie Mitchell's recent series on kind of independent bottlings, I do think it's worth checking out. And the reason is pretty straightforward. Cask is a classic example of a distillery that is putting out just such higher quality whiskey under their as independent bottlings than they do under their distillery name. Their 12-year-old, I think, is really overrated and overpriced. When you can get an equivalent bottle like this, in particular, maybe not from Jack Rose Dining Saloon, but nonetheless, independent bottling Calilas are ubiquitous and definitely worth your money. Yeah, I think he wants to. Yeah, I would love if you could get your hand at that. The Adelphi 12-year-old that they just put out in the sherry cask is amazing. I might have done a little bit. Put a box on the table and okay. Yeah, hang on. Let's see what he does. Hey, Winston, I'm just gonna put that right there. There's no whiskey in it. Anyways, a nice heavily peated Cask. I don't generally love Cask, but what I do love is independent bottle Cask. And there's a strict reason. The quality level is magnified exponentially. So even if you live in a world where there's only Total Wine or government stores, I implore you to spend your money on independent bottle Cask. You want a nice, young, punchy, quality Islay whiskey. IC86, meet Winston. Yeah, what's up, man? Punk ass. This is just so rich. The bourbon cask comes through nicely, but it's complementary to the heavy peat smoke. I mean, it really just shines. It's sprightly. It's young. It's got great fucking smell going to it. Picked up both the Jack Rose selections that you reviewed last week. Both were great. Oh yeah. You got them? I'm so glad to hear that. Keep an eye on that website. They periodically drop Jack Rose. I got a Bunnahabhain from there too. But yeah, I got the Jack Rose and the Clenleach. They're both great. Jack Rose, as somebody who lived in DC for a little while, it was a real treat to be able to go there, and I did a couple tastings that were amazing. With the late Harvey, who was their master whiskey taster, who knew more about single malt Scotch whiskey than anybody you'll ever meet in your life. He passed away about 2 years ago, and I got to sit down and have drinks with him once. And wow, just the things he showed me, it was great. So I'm glad you got those, Greg Slanch. Enjoy those dreams. My friend, consider that invitation taken. Oh yes. Yeah. I was sold on Jack Rose. I'll tell you a quick story. So when I lived in DC for a couple of years, I would go to Jack Rose. I mean, and the thing about Jack Rose is, first of all, I mean, just go on their website if you want to see what type of whiskeys they have. I mean, we're probably the best whiskey collection from any bar in the United States. And I say that out of honesty. I'm not trying to shill for them or anything. I really do. I couldn't believe it. But when I lived in Philadelphia, I was part of the Philadelphia Whiskey Society. We had a really nice relationship with the folks at at Jack Rose. And so, you know, as I was just getting into whiskey, it was one of the first times I did like, here's a glass of Blanton's. Now here's a barrel pick from what we picked. And when you have those two things together, and you realize just like the knowledge and quality that they were bringing to it, I have not been really led astray by any picks from them. So it was great. Yeah, man. Rest in peace, Harvey. Let me tell you a great story about Harvey. So Harvey was the guy in charge of the whiskey at Jack Rose. He was a large man. He was kind of hunched over. He didn't dress the part for a Washington D.C. whiskey bar. And so you would walk in, and you'd sometimes see Harvey sitting there with his Capita glass, and he's just sitting there with it. You know, he's eating. He's sitting by himself in the corner, blah blah blah, tasting different whiskeys here and there. And I went in there. It was like a third date. I was dating a girl who lived in Philadelphia. She came down to spend the weekend with me in DC, and I took her to Jack Rose. And there was nowhere else to sit at the bar except the two seats that were open next to Harvey. So I sat next to Harvey. I still have his business card in my wallet. And I had a 2.5 hour conversation with Harvey, much to the chagrin of my date, who was kind of like, after an hour, kind of looking at me like, okay, what's up? I'm like, nah, you don't understand. Like, this guy, he's the OG, right? And he's just telling me all the Springbank single casks and this and that, pointing at different things. You should try this one. You should try this one. You should try that. I tasted this one a year and a half ago. And I ended up having like a whiskey session with the guy. Real character. He was a legend. He was a legend in the whiskey community in DC, and probably more than that. I didn't know much at the time, but I did still date that girl anecdotally afterwards. So she didn't dump me after after Harvey kind of took over half of our date, but it was amazing. Yeah, he passed away, I think about a year and a half ago now, which is just, it's a real loss. The guy was a unique character, and to sit and drink serious whiskey as somebody who at the time was kind of just past getting my sea legs and kind of moving into that intermediate phase of really understanding whiskey, like to sit with a guy like him and hear him talk about the whiskeys he was pouring was, it was one of those moments, malt moments, whatever you want to call it. It was one of those times in your life where like it all made sense, and it was all just so clear, like how unique of an experience you were having, and that you had the ability to experience something that unique, right? Because there are a million people that come in and out of Jack Rose every day that, fuck, like, you know, he's got no time for it. He's not talking to them. The fact that he talked to me, the fact that we were jaw-jacking about John Campbell at Lefroy versus Ardbeg and the non-chill filter and all this. The fact that he took time to like sit and like point out 2 drams to me and talk about, like, he was a wealth of knowledge, and it was just such a exciting experience for a young whiskey drinker that like I was at the time. So I got mad love for Harvey and Jack Rose. So I mean, I'll raise a glass to that slanch. And I think we all got those types of moments in our lives, you know, here or there. So that's what keeps it going, man. That's what makes it fun. Truth. Cheers. Where are we at here? Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, I had a fuck, was it from them? It wasn't a Craigellachie. It was Craigenmore. It wasn't bad. Very cheap and triple 5-year-old Kahlua. Smoky Scott. All right, boy, London knows what's up. Oh yeah, definitely. Maybe, man. Could be. Hey, what's up? Luco? Good to see you, man. Yeah, they were good days, man. You're not going to come over and try and sleep with me, are you? By the way, y'all, there's going to be a potential Swami meetup later this summer in Milwaukee. Stay tuned for that. Good to see you, man. Okay, y'all. I am going to wrap here because I got to do some other bullshit, like watch the Bucks game. They're not doing so well. Keep an eye. Patreons, check out your email inbox. The review of the Paul John. Yes, you're absolutely right. 100%. That is exactly what I would say about him. He was awesome. It's too bad, but you know, live by the sword, die by it, I suppose. All right. Paul John Select Cask Olorosa dropping Friday. Patreons is in your inbox. Great to hang out once again with y'all. I am looking forward to catching y'all next week. We'll have another show. Again, these exceptional Cask cookies were great, man. 3.5 out of 5 on the Aberfeldy, 43%. 4 out of 5 on the Craigellachie, 57.5. Much love to you all. Take good care. I'll catch you next time here on Tasty Tuesday Live. Launch.